Welcome to Satsang. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. Let us begin. Pleasure to be back in the circle with you here. Let us begin with the heart's message. The pathway of divinity is to walk lockstep with all of life in total love. None behind, none above, all is one. To give oneself to help those we are able. For those who can help, help. And love those who cannot. And those that cannot help, help and love those who will not. And those who will not, once remembering they are part of the one through unconditional love, will leap with joy as their hearts remember their family. To love without condition is the most divine pathway available in the walk towards a unified world of one people. We each have the opportunity to be divine in each moment. We each have a role to play in the evolution of humanity as we walk towards unity. We have a short story to share, about Shaya and the baseball team that correlates with tonight's heart's message. Shaya plays baseball. In Brooklyn, New York, there is a school that caters for children with learning disabilities. Some children remain in the school for their entire school career, while others can transfer into conventional schools. At such a school, at a fundraising dinner, the father of a child enrolled in such a school delivered a speech that will always be remembered by all who attended. After extolling the school and its dedicated staff, he cried out, "Where is the perfection in my son, Shaya? Everything nature does is done with perfection, but my son, Shaya, cannot learn things as other children do. He cannot remember facts and figures as other children do. Where is nature's perfection? The audience was stilled by the question, and pained by the father's anguish. I believe, the father continued, that when a child like mine, like Shea, comes into the world, an opportunity to realize human nature presents itself, and it comes in the way other people treat that child. He then told the following story about his son. One afternoon, Shea and his father walked past a park where some boys whom Shea knew were playing baseball. Shea asked his father, "Do you think they will let me play?" Shea's father knew that his son was not at all athletic and that most boys would not want him on their team. But Shea's father also understood that if his son was chosen to play, it would give him a comfortable sense of belonging. Shea's father approached one of the boys in the field and asked if Shea could play. The boy looked around for guidance from his teammates, and getting none, he took matters into his own hands and said, "We are losing by 6 runs, and the game is in its 8th inning. I guess he can be on our team, and we'll try to put him up to bat in the 9th inning." Shea's father was ecstatic, as Shea smiled broadly. Shea was given to put on a glove and to go out and play short center in center field. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Shea's team scored a few runs but was still behind by 3. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Shea's team scored again, and now with 2 outs and the bases loaded with the potential winning run on base, Shea was scheduled to be up. Would the team actually let Shea bat at this juncture and give away their chance to win the game? Surprisingly, Shea was given the bat. Everyone knew that it was all but impossible because Shea didn't know how to even hold the bat properly, let alone hit with it. However, as Shea stepped up to the plate, the pitcher moved a few steps to lob the ball in softly so Shea could at least be able to make contact. The first pitch came and Shea swung clumsily and missed. One of Shea's team members came up to Shea, and together they held the bat and faced the pitcher again, waiting for the next pitch. The pitcher again took a few steps forward to toss the ball softly towards Shea. As the pitch came in, Shea and his teammates swung at the ball together, and they hit a slow ground ball to the pitcher. The pitcher picked up the soft grounder and could have easily thrown the ball to the first baseman. Shea would have been out, and that would have been the end of the game, and they would have won. Instead, the pitcher took the ball and threw it on a high arc to the right field, far beyond the reach of the first baseman. And everyone started yelling, "Shea, run to first, run to first!" Never in his life had Shea run to first, and he scampered down the baseline, wide-eyed and startled. By the time he reached first base, the right fielder had the ball. He could have thrown the ball to the second baseman, who would tag out the still running Shea. But the right fielder understood what the pitcher's intentions were, so he threw the ball high and far over the third baseman's head, and everyone yelled, "Run to second! Run to second!" Shea ran towards the second base as the runners ahead of him deliberately circled the bases towards home. As Shea reached second base, the opposing shortstop ran to him, turned him in the direction of third, and shouted, "Run to third!" As Shea rounded third, the boys from both teams ran behind him screaming, "Shea, run home!" Shea ran home, stepped on the home plate, and all 18 boys lifted him on their shoulders and made him the hero of the game. He had just hit a grand slam and won the game for his team. "That day," said the father softly, with tears now rolling down his face, "those 18 boys from both teams helped bring friendship and a piece of true love and humanity into the world." And so, Shea's baseball story. And as such, we each have a role to play in the walk towards divinity, and we each have the opportunities to be divine in each moment as we walk in the evolution of humanity towards unity. Let's begin the question segment. The statement of questions in the question segment. There are 11 questions for tonight's satsang. Question number 1. What is enlightenment? In the most simple explanation, enlightenment is the revelation that all is one and one is all. It is to become all of life, the universe, so to speak. For the universe is uni, meaning one, and verse, meaning song. The universe is the one song. To become enlightened is to become an instrument of the universe, of the one song. It is a place of pure bliss, and one is lightened or unburdened or released of all sufferings because they now see life from the entire picture. They see the entire beach instead of one grain of sand. The separated individual knows suffering because it is separated. It believes itself isolated, alone, a single piece of sand among a vast beach. An island, a grain of sand that it believes must sink at the end of the body's viability. The enlightened mind is no longer separated. It is in full union with God, the Supreme, the Absolute, the Spirit of all, or all that lives, the universe, the one song. And from this place, suffering does not exist because one recognizes it as eternal life, ever evolving and changing and growing into something better than it had been. Eternally whole and one, rather than believing it is a temporary body floating through samsara or illusion. Many enlightened gurus of the past have been thought to no longer reincarnate after their liberation. This is partly true, for they still incarnate but in vessels of pure bliss. They no longer incarnate into separation from God or all of life. The enlightened ones are God, knowing they are God, dancing in union with God in its many forms. They know life is one and eternally expanding and evolving and emitting from a single source that is wholly loving. Enlightenment is the knowing that death is non-existent, for only life is able to live, and all that lives is indeed eternal life. It is this perspective that allows such people to walk peacefully and blissfully through their entire incarnations without suffering. And that is true enlightenment, to be totally enlightened of all suffering and separation. Question 2. Can we really do practices to not reincarnate again? In truth, this is always available to all. However, that it is desirable is a true illusion. The desire to not reincarnate again is a desire born of ignorance and the perspective of suffering. When one has dropped the body and remembered the unity of all, their only desire is often to rejoin form and help the seemingly separated walk forward in evolution towards unity and the remembrance that we are all one. The unity that is known perfectly in the formless. To help all that believe they are separate, that in truth are one and always have been. When one drops the body and remembers it was a temporary avatar for an eternal beingness, the desire to not rejoin the dance is literally null and hilarious. The seriousness of the incarnation and the heaviness of the suffering is released, and able to see the big picture, able to see how blissful and loving is the unity we are all moving towards, one desires nothing more than to rejoin back into the dance that is eternal evolution. Of course, God will want to dance again with God in physical vessels. Physical life is the highest joy, to sense, to adventure, to see things with a new and fresh perspective, to see life with new eyes and a seemingly new mind. That is the gift of eternal life. To love again like it's the first love, to swim again like it's the first swim, to laugh again like it's the first laugh. Those who do practices in effort to not be a part of life are only performing a karmic mind trip of separation. In remembering truth, of course they will make the decision to come back and fly with the eagles, swim with the dolphins. Perhaps they will not choose to suffer with the humans again for a while, or they may even wait to be a human again until humanity reaches a level of unity and unconditional love, which is perfectly fine. For in eternal creation there are always volunteers seeking to enjoy the raptures of the first love all over again in a totally new and fresh and unexpected way. And either way, it would be rare indeed for God to choose not to reincarnate again inside its own Garden of Eden, in its heaven, in the realm of communication and joy. Question 3. What is Christ consciousness? Christ consciousness is the same as enlightenment, to see all as all and all as self. To become an instrument of the one song of the universe. We will share a video link in the video description for the Satsang with an overview of Christ's perspective of enlightenment. Who or what is God? God is a perspective of truth. In reality, God and the enlightened are one and the same. One becomes God, the Absolute, the Supreme, becomes Krishna with its many arms and numerous mouths, the universe, the cosmos. God is what Christ means when he says, I and the Father are one. All that lives is God, and God is the perspective of knowing one is all that lives. Every single life form, everything of form, the sun, the moon, the ocean, everything in the universe is one, is God. God's children are the individual vessels that live within the one Garden of Eden. God is often cited to have only one child, one Christ, one Son, because God, as all that is, as one, does not see anything from the perspective of division. God only sees the one light of which many humans give individual names to and separate with flags and imaginary borders. God's one child, which we would call children from the perspective of separation. All that live are able to know God and become one with God at any time through the adoption of forgiveness, unconditional love for all life, and unity. It is truly much more simple and much more easier to return to heaven and to be one with God than many believe. It does not require what one calls death at all, for only life can be with God. Question 5. Do angels exist? Angels, as well as their counterpart demons, exist only in separation. Many believe in what is called spiritual warfare or good versus evil due to separation itself, due to the belief that they are not one with God, which in reality anything that lives must by definition be one with God, for only God lives. In truth, what one calls good or evil, or angel or demon, is only God and God, dancing in its different perspectives of separation through eternal creation. For in truth, God is one and heaven is all. Hell and demons are merely a result of separation in the imagination influenced by religious dogma. No one needs no one needs champs to fend off demons. Simply forgive and love and remember this is heaven. Let go of the silly crosses and idols. We are ready to evolve past such childish games. The only thing permitted access into the Garden of Eden is eternal love and light, or God, which is you. Hence why newborn life is always fresh, innocent, and unconditionally accepting and loving of what is given. For new life is God in its purest form, unconditionally loving, innocent, and changeless. Thank you for the question. Question 6. Can we really get into heaven? Can we really get into heaven? Yes. Enlightenment, or Christ consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, is knowing oneness with God, becoming the universe the one song. And this experience is to remember that earth is indeed the eternal Garden of Eden, in which God is eternally creating in its myriad of forms. It is the realm where all life may love and create eternally with God, or all that is, eternal life. God and heaven have always been right here with us, before our birth, during our birth, and after our dropping of the body. Heaven is eternal, God is eternal, you are eternal. For you are one of God's many forms that is evolving eternally in this time and space. 7. Why do humans commit suicide? The simplest answer is because of the illusion of separation. No other life form on our planet chooses to end their own life in this way. This is because the human mind is the only mind of life that perceives itself to be separate or isolated from other life. The separated mind becomes confused, afraid, and feeling powerless, as if the world is against them and no joy is possible. Thankfully, We are evolving out of the separation mindset slowly but surely. For when we all remember we are God, we are love, and we are all the same, we are one family, there will be nowhere on earth that is not our home, where any one of our family can feel separated ever again. It will be non-existent. Remember, love, serve, unite. Remember, love, serve, unite. In the light of truth and unity, the world in which suicide exists, and the word suicide itself falls away out of our vocabulary, along with war and suffering and starvation. For in a world of unity, all of the suffering that we perceive now in the world of separation is non-existent. Question 8. Why is one born suffering if God loves all? Why is one born suffering if God loves all? This question would likely be easier to answer with more clarification. For suffering is a perspective, and none are born suffering. Some may be born with sensations or a different vessel than others, but none are born perceiving life as suffering until they are taught that it is suffering. Suffering is a perspective. One may take a birth in which they are perhaps physically blind. To this, often the parents suffer more in thought than the child ever does due to perspective. The parents feel their child is missing or losing out on what they see as a grand piece of the physical journey. Yet the child would not even know blindness to be a handicap or suffering, except for others that label it as such and treat them as if they are to be pitied. In reality, the blind child has an ability to spark the collective imagination beyond what it has ever been before, if their light is not dimmed by so-called suffering or handicaps. Each birth serves a purpose for evolution of individual and collective life towards unity. In this case, it may be for the parents to find peace without conditions, or for the child to find evolution and turn what many call a handicap into a superpower. In truth, it is both, a conspiracy, if you will, to help all involved evolve. For in eternity, one cannot fathom the endless amounts of variations of experiences and life spirit creates within the physical. Spirit or God knows only eternal, endless joy in creation, and it is never viewing any experience to be a handicap or suffering, ever. In reality, suffering is only suffering in one's mind, except In reality, suffering is only suffering in one's mind due to concepts that label and lock it in as such. Spirit, God, all that is, never suffers and never wants any of its children to suffer. Yet this is the pathway we have chosen to grow through, evolution from ignorance to knowledge, from separation to unity, which takes a lot of growing pains, as we have seen through the millennia of recorded history and many, many, many more of unrecorded history. But it is worth it entirely, for when humanity returns to unity, it will be with all the children remembering their inherent godhood, with infinite pathways to expand and grow and create eternally laid out in front of them. God does love all. None are born suffering. Question 9. What is true forgiveness? Forgiveness is a pathway to evolution and elevation. It is a pathway that allows the world, humanity, to release judgments, perceptions of evil, hatred, and separation and negativity, and to pick up the fragrance of flowers, of the perspectives of peace, love, joy, and unity. It is the first and the foundational step, meaning the first and the foundational step towards remembering heaven is here. For forgiveness allows the perception of which the divided call hell and suffering to be replaced by the perspective of familyhood with all and abundance for all. In unity, there are no more children starving because all children are the family of all. No more wars because none could ever slay their family over resources that are shared in unity with everyone. For in unity, after true forgiveness and release, all recognizes all life as itself in unconditional love. It is important to state that there is a difference in forgiveness to destroy and forgiveness to release. Forgiveness to destroy is intended to control another. It is, I will forgive you if you promise to allow my orders or conditions to be your way. Or, I will forgive you if you promise to follow my conditions. It is not forgiveness, but rather a control tactic used to condemn the so-called forgiven at another point in time. For example, don't you remember when I forgave you and you made a promise not to do it again? Now suffer thrice, for me, for you, and for the past. Forgiveness to destroy can be disguised as charity even. Yet the purpose will always be to separate and make what God created equal unequal. For the pardoner is always held over the pardoned, as is in the presidential pardon. The president becomes the owner of forgiveness, and the other, the poor wretch, needy in the powers given by the people for the presidents to pardon. It is not truly the president that provides the power, it is the people. And we often forget this as we put an individual on a pedestal and separate ourselves. And all this does is separate us even more. Forgiveness for liberation, however, has only one form. It does not ask of proof for innocence. It does not argue. It does not evaluate or judge the errors that it is overlooking. It does not relive the same heinous crime 1,000 times as it considers forgiveness. It releases all involved as it acknowledges that the light and innocence we came with here, to here, has just merely been misguided, that the innocent child has merely been misguided, and to do something misguided that now requires forgiveness. Forgiveness to liberate allows those involved to grow past the injunction, to leave it behind and move forward, rather than carry it with them into everything they do. False forgiveness to destroy imprisons the forgiver and the forgiven in conditions and terms that are liable to be broken because they were created in the first place. To forgive is to liberate. It's to simply share truth, release judgment, and allow the heart to remain open instead of closed by condemnation. Thank you for the question. Question number 10. What is the purpose of marriage? To know the purpose of a thing, we must first know why it was originally invented. Why would the mind create such a space at all? As far as common human knowledge is concerned, marriage originated around 4,000 years ago as a concept to help humans form bonds for survival. It served to establish alliances, secure property rights, ensure family legacy, or tribal survival. It began with nothing to do with romantic love in any way, shape, or form. In a nutshell, marriage began as a special business contract to ensure that those in contractual agreements upheld their agreements. It was and still often is entirely transactional. Today it has evolved to include what we will refer to as divine union, which is at the love end of the scale of the spectrum. If marriage is to control at its root, divine union is to be free. Divine union is an agreement of unconditional love between vessels. A commitment to support each other through all experience of the worldly journey. A commitment to support each other without judgment, hate, fear, anxiety, or mistrust. Lack of trust is never present in a divine union, nor are lies in any shape or form. In a contractual marriage, a business contract is created to try and to ensure that those involved remain in bondage to the expectations and conditions of the other. And when one does not feel these expectations, there is suffering, judgment, condemnation, and often divorce. The intention of a marriage contract from a place of a closed heart is to try and lock down the conditions that allow the heart to crack open some, to allow heaven to be visible if only for a little while. But if those conditions are not met, instantly hell and despair returns. This is never so with divine union. For ourselves, we have experienced marriage as a contract in this incarnation. At age 16, we had relations with the mother of our daughter, another child of light. We're all children of light without exceptions, which led to pregnancy. The parents of our daughter's mother issued an ultimatum. If we were to be a part of our child's life, we had to marry their daughter or disappear. So we did. It became a literal business contract at the age of 16 in which both of our biological parents had to sign for approval due to our age, all to ensure that we would not be locked out of our child's life. The marriage ended in divorce 2 years later due to circumstances that led us to becoming a single father for the next decade or so of our incarnation. But in this example, innocent life, the unborn child, was used as a bargaining chip to ensure the business contract, which happens often. We have other great examples to share from our incarnation, but we feel that this communicates that which we wish to share well enough. Marriage is a literal business contract in most forms that it represents. Consider the truth in this. Consider the rates of divorce. Consider your own experiences with the institution for self or parents or others in the community and its results, and the mask it creates around those involved, as well as the judgments it often makes inevitable, as well as the ownership perspective that it also makes inevitable. Divine union is often created before the contract of marriage in that form is created. Few marriages result in divine union, but nearly all divine unions result in marriage. Hopefully that expanded on the purpose of marriage. Question 11. Why do I choose achievement instead of peace? We, meaning humans, humans in separation are programmed to strive for acceptance of the society or community. As it is sold to many, it is a way for one to feel to be more than another. In a world of achievers and non-achievers, of course one believes that they will be better off if they have accolades to share or accumulations to boast about. That said, achievement or expansion or evolution in itself is not negative. It only becomes suffering when it is used to feel or appear to be something different, something above another. If the doctor stands on the corner pitying the homeless man because he appears to not have made something of himself, the illusion is at full force. In truth, the man in the blanket could be or easily could have been a doctor, and by happenstance one received the experiences that led them to being homeless and the other to becoming a doctor. These two labels are of separation, not of individual achievement. In truth, we must ask how the world creates such starkly different appearances of life and how we can bring them together in unity rather than using labels to make them seem different. Trust that the homeless man is the doctor and the doctor is the homeless man. They are one and the same within the eternal sphere or the eternal heart of all that is, or God. In truth, one must ask, what are we doing to ourselves? We each come into this world with everything given to us for a blissful journey. We will leave this world with none of what we perceive as ourselves, including achievements and accomplishments. Only love transitions. Perhaps the man on the corner took an incarnation just to unlock pity in the doctor, giving his whole life to the other, which is itself. So for just one moment there is the experience of the heart opening for another. For in truth, everyone that lives is the loyal family and is entirely committed to your evolution, our evolution. We promise, even though the veil makes it seem not so, all is your dear, loved family. Your divine family. All is you. All is for you. All is here for your evolution. So, in truth, the man playing the man on the corner is exactly the same as the doctor. They both arrived here with nothing but their light and will leave with nothing but their light. Knowing this, there should be no pity, no suffering, only rejoice and happiness for the amazing unfolding of experience and evolution in which one believes for an instant that they are different. Wow. Amazing. Love, joy, hate, suffering, separation. Wow. Oh wow. Unity, taste, smell, sensations. Wow. What a gift life is. That ends our question segment. If you are able and willing, please join us for tonight's heart blessing. Placing a hand over the heart, closing the eyes if accessible. Tonight's heart blessing is for those who serve in healthcare roles. Picture a hospital, a retirement home, or perhaps a camp across the ocean in which loving humans are doing their best to serve people in need. Hold them in your heart. Send a blessing of words such as thank you, I love you, and bask them in loving light now. Thank you for your light. Thank you for your love. We've come to the end of Satsang. We will now exit the circle of unity, but as you know, we are never truly outside of the circle of unity. Next, we've got a better than before moment in which we're going to discuss the first limb of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, and then a bhakti moment to dance off some of the energy of the satsang. Our better than before moment for this satsang is an introduction into Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, or the eight-limbed wheel of yoga. This pathway is a surefire path to liberation and enlightenment. However, it can be difficult to walk this pathway, as it requires true willpower and love. The first limb are yama. These are basic ways of being in the world and how we interact with the world around us. It includes the 5 following principles: nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, moderation and continence, non-possessiveness, and non-greed. On the slide coming up, we will do a brief summary of these 5 principles and offer avenues for further research into them and other limbs. Please take a moment to pause and read through the principles if so desired. We will move on to the dancing session in a few moments.